Well, hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks
Hello.
for having us.
Yes.
So is this your first time in the room? It's not your first time in this room.
I've been here before.
Yes, you have.
It is my first time in this room.
Yeah, you joked already about walking past the storage room to get here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the closet recording space.
That's right. That's how we keep it secret. So thanks for being here. We're going to be talking about stewardship, and we've had a number of podcasts now and conversations where we're talking about that topic. What does it mean to us, and what does it mean in the church world today, and stuff like that. But before we get into that topic, I'd like to have you guys introduce yourself. What do you do in the world? Whatever about yourself you want to share, and just so people can get to know you a little bit. So you can do rock, paper, scissors to see who wants to go first.
Go for it.
Okay. My name is Stephanie Fisk. You've probably seen me at church with my husband, Brian, and our three girls, Natalie, Meredith, and Liesel. Two of them are in middle school now, and one's still in elementary school. With me, I work at Gibbs Elementary in the health office. I'm the health office nurse. So yeah, I get to bring Liesel to school with me.
Awesome. Pretty cool.
And my name is Stephanie Sirek, and I have two boys. Craig and Caleb are 8th grade and 7th grade, and my husband, Andrew.
Cool.
And this year I moved to 1st grade, so I am a 1st grade teacher at Longfellow.
I don't think we knew that. We were guessing, were you 2nd grade
Yeah,
before?
we were
Yes.
just saying 2nd grade. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. I taught kindergarten for 20 years, and then 2nd grade for 2 years, and then now 1st. All in Rochester Public Schools.
Very cool.
Fun fact, she used to work with my mom at
Yeah.
Lincoln.
Well, that's right. I'm forgetting. No, it's all coming back
Lots
to me
of
now.
connections.
Right? So I suppose another kind of trivia, but probably also a bit foundational to the conversation is if you're willing to share about your kind of upbringing as far as your relationship with church. What was that for you if you grew up in the church, and what was that experience? And I don't know, anything you want to share about that, because that's often foundational to how we experience the church community today. So tell me about your church upbringing, if any.
Yeah. I grew up in the church. My dad was, it was a different denomination, but my dad was a pastor and then worked in church planting. So we were just always around church. We went all the time together as a family. It was, I had a good relationship with church growing up. And yeah, we ended up, my husband and I ended up changing denominations when we were married, but that was more of a so we could be together and one type thing. And so yeah.
So what's it like being a PK? Let's just real quick, let's just take that segue a bit. So you're a PK. So you said a good that's a rare thing for a PK to say good relationship with the church growing up.
I feel like I was like naive, I suppose, but more just like a goody I was a typical first child. I'm the third child, but there's a big age gap between me and my older siblings.
Okay.
So I'm basically the first child, and so I was a rule follower, and the church gave me rules to follow.
So it wasn't. So it was more like it's just the way it was for you. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was not much to rebel against, because it was just this is what we do. This is what our family does. It wasn't so much whether it was church or not. It's just this is what our family does.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, that is. I think that's a good way to put it, because I mean, as I've grown up and learned more about background stuff, that it's been more eye opening. It's been interesting learning the whys we do certain things.
Yeah, some of that generational theory stuff, or some of that, birth order stuff, or some of that, how parents, all that. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll have to talk more PK stuff sometime. All right, Sirek, your turn.
I was raised Lutheran ELCA, and our family always had a church that we attended and was highly involved in. Both my parents and grandparents and extended family with cousins and aunts and uncles were all super involved in the church all growing up. We moved around a little bit, but wherever we were, we always found a church that we belonged to.
So would you say in a similar way? I mean, I do think it's different for a PK, right? Because there is the lines of what you might call youth group or Sunday school or even worship are blurred when you're a PK, because it's so much more than that, right? I mean, because your parents are tied to this and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it also sounds in a similar way that for you, church was what you did. It wasn't, the question wasn't on the table for you so much. It was just part of what you did as a family.
Yeah. My mom was a Sunday school teacher and then confirmation leader, very similar to me. And my dad was always on the like planning and maintenance kind of side of the building as well. So, yeah.
So do you guys, either of you, take it as it comes? So given that you kind of grew up in the church, both of you, in a lot of ways, what was what is your memory of or your relationship with that concept or the word stewardship? Like, what did that mean to you? Try to focus more like, what was it growing up? That may be very different than it is today. But did you hear that word? Did it bring something up in the household? You are going to have a very different answer, I'm guessing. But I'm curious, did you have a relationship with that word or that concept growing up?
I remember that word growing up mostly being associated with money and tithing.
Yeah.
And like having a certain amount that I wouldn't say we're expected to tithe, but it was strongly recommended. And then, like a certain amount, like the 10%.
Yeah. So tithe. So when you say tithe, just because sometimes, and I do it too, I use the word tithe and, assume we're talking just about financial giving, but the word tithe in many, many traditions is very specifically 10% of gross. Like, was it that specific? Is that what you're talking about? Like, tithe is the expectation, or tithe as in give something?
Growing up, my understanding was that it was expected the 10%.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. How about you?
Honestly, I don't know what my parents gave. I remember the collection envelopes and, at Christmas Eve, we always got the envelopes for the next season. And yep. But back in the paper days. But I guess my dad always had a check and he gave us a $1 every time to put in we had something to put in the offering plate too. Yeah. But we never talked about how much to give to church or anything like that.
You weren't really in the conversation.
Right.
It was another thing that you did. You saw them do maybe because the plate passed or you got your $1. Mm-hmm. But it was, again, something you did, not necessarily something that you were coached, taught, or brought in on as far as the debate or conversation of how much and what does it mean and all those things. Yeah.
I would say too, when I think about stewardship, I think about not always financial but the giving of services or time or energy. And so, like I said, my mom was always a Sunday school teacher and confirmation leader. Yeah. I remember we redesigned the Sunday school rooms and painted all of those, Noah's Ark and stuff like that. So of giving back to the church community in other ways besides just financial.
Yeah. Did you know that as a kid, though? Was that something you kind of noticed, realized? Okay, yeah. So really that it is more than the offering plate, at least for you and how you... Mm-hmm. Is that true for your family as well? Or again, PK is a different view?
We were always very involved too. And I guess I'm just the word stewardship, that just makes me think about money, as I was growing up. But there were, and I've realized that now as I get older and I know more of what happens behind the scenes and all the stuff that needs to happen behind the scenes, how much giving of other things that aren't money is very important also. But that's been more of an adult thing, learning thing.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Just transition to that. How, just what is your concept of it now? What might be your ebb and flow on stage of life or things going on in your family? How do you enter a relationship with the word or concept of stewardship now as well? And you already started to touch on, it's not just resources, but time and talents as well. So maybe you can say more about that.
We've already kind of said, I have learned as an adult that it's more giving of what God has given us and giving it back to Him and to the church. And so our gifts that we have and talents and time and includes money too, but it's not all money. Yeah. So and as different life stages, you give what you can and you try to be generous and at the same time humble with what you have, but giving to help others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, me as an educator, I mean, I started when my kids were little. So teaching Vacation Bible School from, when my oldest was 3 on up to now he's 14. So, not only watching him grow, but the other children in the community of church, just, looking back at the Christmas pageant pictures and like, oh, here's so-and-so when they were 3, just like you. And now you're in confirmation together. Yeah. It's been just a joy watching the kids grow. Cool.
Mm-hmm. How do you think your peer groups, people your age, parents your age, church or not, I mean, this can go in all kinds of directions. I'm just curious, right? That, the participation in church, I mean, are you open about it? Do people care? Do people scoff at it? I mean, because it's one thing to write a check and put it in the offering plate or digitally, whatever. Nobody really knows that unless you're behind the scenes, right? But when you're giving of your time and your talents, when it's actually on your calendar and you have to zip off to do a podcast at church or something, people notice. I mean, are there conversations? Does this affect people? I know that's not stewardship directly, but in some ways it is. I'm just curious how people respond to how you participate in church as part of your stewardship.
I have found, at least where I work at one of the schools, that I'm going to go to church. Okay. And so it's just everyone's really accepting about what we need. We can choose what we do after school and in our free time. And I haven't had any issues. There hasn't been any scoffing or anything. Yeah. And just everyone really accepting.
Cool.
Not a lot of questions either, though. So it's just kind of like, okay.
Right. It's because it's a border. Like, I think the assumption is Rochester is still a very churched town. And I there's some statistics I saw, and I don't want to quote them because I really might be wrong in even my interpretation of them. But in general, Rochester isn't as churched as people think as far as how many people on Sunday morning are in a faith community. It was a pretty low number given the population itself. And that may actually be reflective of the United States. So I don't really know exactly what those numbers are. But that's kind of where the catalyst of my question is too, because again, stewardship, which is time and talents as well as resources, is something that 2/3 of that is I'm sharing my time. People know. How do people respond? And as there's evangelism tied to that and discipleship tied to that. But how people perceive how you give of your time in a very busy world is maybe part of the equation for people. How do people respond to you, or do they, or do you not? Is it a non-issue?
Yeah, I would say it's a non-issue. I mean, the staff at where I work is very Christian. There's people that go to church here at my workplace. So, and then other churches in the community. But something else. I think kind of feeding off of like your time and how you spend time. I've been forthcoming with. I'm a sports mom by, by fire. But so just being very clear with the coaches and my friends that are also sports moms of, no, I expect my kids to go to confirmation on Wednesday, and, missing confirmation for sports practice isn't what we do in our family. And so I've been very clear with my friends and my child's friends of like, no, our faith in God is more important than sports practice. So I guess I feel that is more going against the flow of the community and the society that we're in now. Like, when I was a kid, like nothing was scheduled on Wednesday nights because everybody was in confirmation or in church, and it's not that way now. And so that's been different. I have been blessed. I don't know. The coaches are like very forgiving. My kids were in Mayo high school sports, and all the coaches were like, we're not raising pro athletes. We are raising young men. And so even though there's sports practice scheduled on Wednesday nights, I was very happy that they saw that confirmation is important, and you should miss practice and go to church.
Yeah. Well, that's I suppose refreshing to hear that you
Yeah.
don't get that pushback.
Yeah.
You know, that I'll be honest, I think that's another way to, I mean, it is, we are saying this in the subtext, but that is another view of what being a good steward is how are you a steward of your time? And as you're bringing to the table, I want you to think about the similar thing, right? Maybe with your kids, and maybe you don't have the same, sporting realities, and maybe you do, but how do we steward our kids' time? As a steward of them. It's a part of the conversation too, which we, again, I'm glad that's why you're here, because often we're saying time, talents, and resources, how do you give it to the church? But being a steward is much bigger than just the 10% or the volunteer activity. There's so many more nuances to it. So yeah, that's a great thought to bring up. So do you have anything similar to that, or where you have to, on behalf of your kids, make a choice of church, and how does that go for you? And is that a way of stewarding your children's time, or do you see it that way?
Yeah, I agree that's an important way to let other people know what our priorities are. And I just personally, with our activities, we haven't had a conflict with it. Maybe short term, like a musical practice, but it would be like a week or two here and there. So otherwise, we haven't had to,
you haven't
to
deal
with
with
that yet.
Anyway,
not
right?
Yet.
Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe never.
It
Maybe
could be
never.
coming.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, because as a parent myself, I've had to deal with it. And in fact, right now, our youngest daughter, who is still in the house, and she's no longer in confirmation, but she comes and to the senior high aspect of our Wednesday nights, and she likes to, but she also has one of her favorite dance lessons got rescheduled to Wednesday night. And so there are times I'll even ask her that either Brenda and I, after kind of our large group time, she gets about 15 minutes in her small group, and she wants to be here for that 15 minutes. And then depending on what the conversation is, because I don't know if you guys even know this, the senior high kids bring their own topics. So they bring the topic and they get into it. And so sometimes she doesn't want to leave. She's like, no, I want to stay and talk about this. Okay. So it's still her choice. Kind of that confirmation is you pass the mantle of responsibility of faith formation onto your kids, right? To live up to your baptismal vows. But part of that is also stewarding the responsibility I have for helping her keep her commitments or not. And so it doesn't end with at the end of confirmation. It continues, and you're like, how do I help? How do I help this? And talk about those realities. So that's a way of thinking of stewarding my parental responsibilities with her choices, right? That kind of thing. That's interesting. What do you think in the world today, general population kind of thinks about, not so much church in particular, but the support that is given to church by those who are a part of it, like us? I mean, do you think there's an uphill battle with church? Do you experience that church itself is countercultural more than just sports? Because, and I guess the context for that, what's in my head right now, and we can, again, go lots of different directions, is when it comes to being part of leadership who says, hey, it's time for our annual giving campaign. Fill out your pledge card. What are you going to give next year? What are you going to do next year? Our theme that for this particular year is because, right? And we're answering the word because. I think that often is a reason that we put before you to give you a reason. We tell you how to answer the because, if you will. But I think we don't think about it enough ourselves, and I don't think we all know why churches might be important in the world today. I'm not sure I can always answer that question, right? As a pastor, you'd think I'd start with that, but sometimes it's what we grew up with, and so we do what we do. But as we steward this community that we've been blessed with, what does it mean for this church, any church, to continue, and what's important in stewarding it as an entity here? It's a broad question, and not one I prompted you with. But I told you we're going to go all kinds of directions. So I'm curious, why is it important to bring your kids? Why is it important to do confirmation? Why is it important to write a check to the church? What is at stake? We can put the Jeopardy music on in post production, dun, 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 and you can think about it. No.
For my kids, I've found that it's important to bring them here to have a place to find friends that are like-minded. I mean, it's important to have diversity and to know and be friends with all sorts of different people at school and everywhere. But it also helps, and it helps build confidence to have a group of friends that they can have together that are like-minded, at least in the Christianity aspect of it, and they can share those beliefs and strengthen each other and answer each other's questions. And I've also appreciated with confirmation, giving them a safe place to ask any questions that they have, even though they might be maybe questions that they're not comfortable asking parents about, or so I've really appreciated that too. So that's what's helped our kids and our family the most.
Worth stewarding.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking more of how Zumbro serves the community.
Mm-hmm.
And as, I don't want to bring politics into it, but as the world changes and families have different needs, how churches in general, and especially our church, how we help serve the community and support the different holes that different families have to make ends meet and survive and thrive in our community.
Mm-hmm. I think what's cool about what each of you articulated, right, is and something that always is on the debate stage within a church leadership at any time is, and you articulated the two directions you could say resources are employed towards. And one of them is the mission that we might call internal, and one of them is the mission we might call external, not really that black and white, but I think we all understand kind of what we're saying. You're talking about a youth ministry experience for your kids to come to and be and have this experience. You're talking about some external needs, and not to say that some of our members don't need those things too, but right, and we often debate that in leadership and council. I mean, in every church everywhere, right? When it comes to stewarding our resources, what are we about? And I'm going to take the opportunity to say it because it's important. I like, we're talking about budgets in some of these conversations, but I don't like the word budget. Like, I like the word mission plan, right? It's all missional. It's missional to support our confirmation students or our Sunday school students, right, that come. That's a mission field, right? These kids don't grow up knowing these things unless we teach them. And to your point, it's also missional to feed the hungry through a food truck when they're hungry. And both of them are missional. And so I appreciate that both of you pointed that out.
She kind of took mine. I mean,
well, you did great on your feet.
Yeah, you did.
That is awesome.
Well, I just think thinking about, just like I said before, watching the kids grow, of just having another trusted adult. Yeah. Whether it's me as a confirmation leader, you as a pastor, or just our adopted grandpa that sits next to us in the pew, just having another trusted adult that our kids can go to, and to know that they love you and they care about you, and that I think teenagers especially, and kids can just be so egocentric, that to know that you are loved and you are wanted and welcomed here, and that there's a community around you that are here to support you.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Her daughter is in my confirmation group.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So thank you for being that person.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so important. And I'm glad you guys named that. I mean, not to be too pro, I am pro confirmation, and this isn't about confirmation is my point, but it is a great microcosm of what we try to do, right? I mean, it does take a village, to take that phrase, and it does take caring adults. I mean, this is a time when that age of kid is differentiating themselves from their parents. I mean, we might want to be there. We might be the best parents in the world, but our kids aren't going to ask us those questions. That's actually okay. It's actually healthy, right? And I think it's pretty cool that a church can, and adults who volunteer, who through active stewardship give of themselves, their time and their talents, to be present for these kids, even if they never ask the question. But you're creating a space where they know they can if they need to, and that's super, super powerful. It's gospel. And I think when we talk about stewardship, whether it is time or talents, or a 10% check or a 40% check, whatever that is, right? I mean, that it's not going to just keep the lights on, but keeping the lights on is a mission that itself, to provide a place for these things to happen. What else comes to mind with stewardship? Is there anything we're missing? Anything that you that comes to mind when we talked beforehand, or that maybe we went in a different direction, but points you want to lift up? I'm just kind of creating the space. There's no expectation. I'm just Anything we missed? Anything you'd like to say? Any experience that you
I
have?
was just thinking, speaking of supporting the church and us as like a church family, and it's just also giving examples for our kids, knowing that it's normal to question things and it's normal to have times when your faith might not feel very strong, or other times where it does feel like you're really involved and you're feeling really great, and seeing other people their age, but other adults also that or have gone through times like that, or are currently going through times like that, and knowing that you can, even when your faith doesn't seem strong, you can rely on other people's faith.
Yeah.
So just having that community together, is very important.
Yeah, there's it's actually talk about a major biblical point. Again, we're not doing a Bible study, but often we talk, especially in America, just our paradigm of thinking. We think of your faith individually. How is your faith? And then you have some traditions, and not that this is wrong, but it's not the only perspective to say, what's your personal relationship or your personal relationship. Biblically speaking, it's not the individual's relationship, it's the community's. To your point, that the community holds faith. And then there's the response, even more biblical, is God's faithfulness in us. So often the word faith, we think it's ours, and really it's God's. But to your point, there is something about community when it comes to this journey of faith, where the community holds faith. And the ebb and flow of the individual is recognized as normal, but it's the community that keeps each other. As each of our individual journeys ebb and flow, the community is there because somebody else might be ebbing while you're flowing, and vice versa, and the community keeps us together and keeps us on a path. I don't even want to say the right path, because it's a path. It's just a path. Mm-hmm. Great. Anything else you want to add? I really appreciate your time. I know that that podcasts are, it's weird and different. You don't know what you're going to talk about, but I appreciate your time. I know you're both coming from work, and I just want to say how much I'm grateful for your perspectives. And I hope and listeners don't know that, we traveled on vans and blizzards together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not everyone knows.
So you're permanently bonded.
We are permanently bonded through blizzards, yes. Wisconsin and Minnesota blizzards. But I really do appreciate what you have given and continue to give to this church and to the kids. I want you to hear that, and hopefully people hear in this conversation of stewardship that, there are checks to be written, but you guys are great examples of what it means to be stewards of time and talents. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.